This is Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We thank you for joining us. I am Lydia Odije Ochi with the news. The Federal Executive Council has approved the appointment of field forensic auditors to undertake a comprehensive forensic auditing of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. The Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, announced this while briefing newsmen after the weekly meeting of the council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. He said the president has approved that the exercise should be funded by the presidency. Details will come in our subsequent bulletin. 12 newly appointed permanent secretaries have been sworn in to fill existing vacancies in the Federal Civil Service. The swearing-in ceremony performed by President Muhammadu Buhari preceded the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has details.
Emerged from a rigorous screening exercise, including a written examination, ICT competency test, as well as an oral interview, the new permanent secretaries represent 12 out of the 16 states where vacancies existed. They are Dr. Emmanuel Chukwuemeka Meribol Abia, Dr. Yerima Peter Tarfa Adamawa, Dr. Ifoma Adora Anya Utaku Anambra, Dr. Antonia Akpabio Ekpa Cross River, Dr. Babayo Ardo Kumo Gombe, and Babangida Husseini Jigawa. Also sworn in were Bashir Nuhu Alkali Kano, Dr. Olua Toin Akinlade Kogi, Dr. Shuaib Muhammad Lamido Belgore Kwara, Udo Monilola Omokumi Oyo, Ali Uganda Muhammad Sokoto, and Mahmouda Mamman Yobe. President Buhari also swore in 2 commissioners, Ida Hagbong Williams Omorige Henry for the Federal Civil Service Commission and Usman Mahamoud Hassan for the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. The swearing-in ceremony was devoid of speeches, but the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemi Esong, speaks on the government's expectations from the new appointees.
I think the first thing is that they must serve with a lot of integrity, and they must also make sure that the promises of Mr. President get to the people. That is the function of the bureaucracy, and if they are leading the bureaucracy in all their ministries, then they must ensure that Mr. President's promises get to the citizens of Nigeria.
And what are the promises?
The first one is on security. Whatever ministry a permanent secretary is, we need to be able to talk to our own people also to ensure that our states are very, very secure.
Some of the permanent secretaries spoken to by NTA News promised to live above board in discharging their responsibilities.
We have pledged to deliver on the mandate of Mr. President. I promised that we shall do our level best to ensure that we commit ourselves to our oath of allegiance and oath of office.
Mr. President has his 9 priority areas, so it's our work to ensure that we fulfill these mandates given to us by Mr. President. So we are going to do all we can to ensure that Mr. President's policies are translated to the people and we give them good service delivery.
The permanent secretaries were appointed from the various eligible directors in the federal ministries, departments and agencies. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
We now have more on FEC approval for forensic auditors for NDDC. The Federal Executive Council has approved the appointment of field forensic auditors to undertake a comprehensive forensic auditing of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. The Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, announced this while briefing newsmen after the weekly meeting of the council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. He said the president has approved that the exercise should be funded by the presidency.
Earlier, we had the lead forensic auditor that was approved sometime in March, and now we have about 8 other forensic auditors who have been approved, and they are going to be working in the field in the Niger Delta region. But one of them is an international group, and they will be in charge of programs and activities at the headquarters, and that one is named Ernst & Young. And so Council graciously considered the memo and approval was given today. And this has really kickstarted the commencement of evaluation and of the abandoned projects of the NDDC in the last 19 years, estimated at almost 12,000 projects. And at the end, we will be in a position to know the ones that could be completed, the ones that will be useful, the low-hanging fruits that could be plucked for the benefit of the people of the Niger Delta region. And through this exercise, we'll know the quantity, the amount of monies that had gone into the region in the last 19 years, and whether the value we have received so far are commensurate with the monies that have entered into the NDDC.
More from the presidency. The National Bureau of Statistics has published the second quarter gross domestic product estimates, which measures economic growth for the first half of 2020. Real GDP declined by 2.18% year-on-year, compared with 2.11% recorded in the first half of 2019. The overall decline of 6.1% for the second quarter and 2.18% for the first half of 2020 was better than the projected forecast of minus 7.24% as estimated by the National Bureau of Statistics. The figure was also relatively far better than many other big economies around the world recorded during the same quarter. Despite the observed contraction in economic activity during the quarter under review, it outperformed projections by most domestic and international analysts. The senior special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says the government's anticipation of the impending economic slowdown and the various initiatives introduced as early responses to cushion the economic and social effects of the pandemic through the Economic Sustainability Program, ESP, contributed immensely to dampening the severity of the pandemic on growth. On the fiscal side, Femi stated that a robust financing mechanism was designed to raise revenue to support humanitarian assistance, in addition to special intervention funds for the health sector. Nigeria's steady efforts to keep the economy afloat despite threatening global downturn triggered by the novel coronavirus pandemic is yielding desired results through the implementation of the 2.3 trillion naira economic sustainability plans aimed at providing critical components support to stabilize frontiers of reviving the economy. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that the intervention induced stakeholders' opinions on NTA's current affairs program Tuesday Live on achieving economic prosperity in the new roadmap.
As Nigerian government strives to sustain a workable economic model with 12-month implementation period under the function of financial intervention of 2.3 trillion naira sustainability plan, guests say the injection of money into the economic cycle of the nation will generate activities, profile multi-sectoral solutions, and create employment to the teeming population.
We needed to design a program that creates a lot of economic activity at the lower to middle strata of the economy, and also allow us to put resources into the hands of as many Nigerians as possible by engaging them in productive activities. So this ESP was designed to be a plan that will be largely Nigeria-driven.
Most of the targets and the timelines and milestones will not be achieved unless there is political sustainability plan.
Experts opined that massive investment, revenue generation, and borrowing to service key sectors of the economy are major ingredients of achieving short, medium, and long-term sustainable plans.
Within the Economic Sustainability Plan, we're working with a Ninth Assembly that has proven through deeds with the regularization of the budget calendar from January to December.
These initiatives are there
these benefits are there. If people don't know about it, they will not be able to key in.
Federal government was commended for initiating social investment programs and the delivery of critical infrastructure through a robust roadmap of achieving domestic economic participation and steady growth. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
The Nigerian Army commends the Tertiary Education Trust Fund (TETFund) for its massive support availed to the Nigerian Army University, Biu, Borno State. The Chief of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, gave the commendation while inaugurating projects at the institution in Biu. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa has details.
In 2018, the Nigerian Army conceived and established the Nigerian Army University, Biu, following the approval of Federal Executive Council. The unique center of academic excellence admits both military and civilian students through JAMB. To support the infrastructural needs of the fast-developing institution, TETFund embarked on projects in the university, some of which the Executive Secretary Suleiman Buguru and the Chief of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, now inaugurate for use. The projects include the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences Complex, Nigerian Army University Biu Senior Staff Quarters, Information and Communication Center, and the Maternal and Child Referral Center.
I must thank Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, for all his support, the resources that he has continued to give Nigerian Army and, of course, to this university. The realization of this university is one of the major policy directions that Mr. President has always embarked in terms of education.
Some of the projects were corporate social responsibility interventions from private organizations. Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai also paid a courtesy visit to the Emir of Biu, Umar Mustafa Aliu, to seek support of the traditional institution. From Biu in Borno State, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
In another development, a group of scholars in Abubakar Tatari Ali Polytechnic, Bauchi, who studied overseas, have commended the federal government for the various programs aimed at providing quality education in the country. The lecturers, who are beneficiaries of Education Intervention Program of Tertiary Education Fund (TETFund), also dissociated themselves from a publication in some national dailies that criticized TETFund, which they described as malicious. Miriam Ubala completes the report.
The stranded scholars are lecturers from Abubakar Tatari Ali Polytechnic, Bauchi, who went to study overseas on scholarship from 2015 to 2017, but were not given their full entitlements. These stranded scholars, numbering 22, are denouncing publications made by one Dr. Ibrahim Sunusi on national dailies, intending to tarnish the image of TETFund.
We, the stranded scholars here, condemn Dr. Ibrahim Sanusi's constant attack on TETFund to us has a political undertone, just to smear the integrity Professor Suleiman Bogoro has built for himself over the years.
The group is advising the National Assembly, TETFund, and the public to ignore Dr. Ibrahim Sanusi's claims, as he was not on scholarship during the said period. In Bauchi, Mariam Ubala, NTA News.
And our next report from Calabar. The skies of residents of Ikodepo, a suburb of Calabar municipality, turned black when a suspected kerosene fire incident razed part of a building where a family of 6 reside. 4 members of that family died as a result of the disaster. Correspondent Cecilia Etetem reports.
Eyewitness accounts say the fire started about 10 o'clock in the night when the only daughter of the family was trying to ignite the stove, which resulted to the sudden explosion, killing 4 members of her family. Luck was, however, on her side as she narrowly escaped, although seriously injured, and her mother, who decided to use the convenience outside the house.
When we came to the main entrance to the room, there was no space. The fire was very much. So we turned round to the window. So going round to the window, I used machete that enabled me to break the first protector and I used arc to destroy the window. From there, we were able to access the room and off all the fire. But before we could quench all the fire or even have access to the room, we already noticed that 4 cops were already down.
We need to sensitize and mobilize the caregivers that when emergency situation arises, they should be able to do something without actually demanding for deposit, because I've been a victim.
Shocked at the sudden turn of events, these family members of the deceased attribute the incident to an adulteration of kerosene, which caused the explosion.
I opened door, went out. I finished coming back again. I saw my daughter shouting, "Mommy, oh, mommy, oh, mommy, oh, fire." And I shout. She ran, and I then run in. When I run in, I saw fire, cannot enter. Again, that's in the news of my husband and my children.
One member of the family who would have been lucky to be alive after sustaining burns did not survive due to no prompt attention by medical personnel at the hospital because friends and family could not meet the demands of payment as required before treatment. In Calabar, Cecilia Ititim, NTA News.
Their souls rest in peace. Another fire incident in Lagos, and let's get update with Hingino in Lagos. Hingino.
Thank you, Lydia. Prompt response from officials of the Federal Fire Service and other emergency agencies prevented a serious damage to a commercial bank building at Ademola Adetokunbo Crescent, Victoria Island, Lagos this Wednesday. Adeola Komiakere reports.
Abdul Imoyo, an eyewitness, told newsmen that the fire incident occurred when the diesel tanker dispensing its product at the premises of the commercial bank developed electrical fault and went up in flames. The prompt intervention of emergency responders prevented the fire, which started from the generator room, from escalating.
No problem again. We have put off the fire. We are only doing damping down. In case of any ignition, that is why we are here.
No life was lost. In Lagos, Adeola Komiakere, NTA News.
Now to aviation. The Nigerian Airspace Management Agency earlier this week announced the creation of 9 new regional performance-based navigation areas across the nation's airspace to reduce flight time. In this report, Michael Olale examines the prospects and challenges of this satellite-based navigation system to airline operations, especially as international flights resume this Saturday.
With domestic flight operations already in full swing, the horizon is getting brighter for the restart of international flights, but the impact of COVID-19 on the aviation industry no doubt is massive, and a reality which influenced the creation of the new regional performance-based navigation routes. The system is a step up from the instrument landing system, which allows an aircraft to fly a specific path between 2 3D defined points in space.
What that does is reduces the time between travel. You also reduce the fuel burn. I mean, if you understand that fuel comprises of, it actually makes about 40% of the cost of airline operations. That's a huge savings. It also means that, the airlines, by not having to worry so much about all the radio clutter that they have to contend with, particularly in the critical phase of landing the aircraft, then they can actually focus more on operating the aircraft.
The advantages are enormous, but experts believe only well-equipped aircraft can fully maximize the gains.
And if you translate it into saving fuel, maybe the aircraft that is newer and has more advantage will probably save more fuel than the one that does not have it. But in totality, you will still, both the aircrafts will still save more fuel than going through the traditional route of probably manual.
These developments will no doubt enable travelers to make up for the hours lost to COVID-19 screening, But whether this will translate into reduced airfare for travelers will be determined by operators when international flight operations resume. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NTA News.
We now take a break. Nationwide continues shortly with Kemi Oshin in Ibadan.
NTA TV College Jos, an affiliate of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, is currently admitting students for its ordinary diploma programs in television journalism, television production, and television engineering. Interested candidates are advised to obtain relevant information concerning eligibility at our website at www.ntatvc.edu.ng or marketing department of any NTA station nationwide. For further information, contact Assistant Director, Marketing, NTA TV College Jos on 0803-314-4383 or the Academic Office of the College on 0806-980-9807. Announcer, Registrar.
ICPC and NTA say you can help Nigeria to flatten the curve on COVID-19, just as you can help flatten the curve on corruption. Follow transparency, accountability, and integrity just as you follow health guidelines. Stay home with integrity and maintain your distance from corruption, just as you stay away from COVID-19 by maintaining social distance. Report every act of corruption to ICPC just as you report COVID-19 to NCDC. Stay away from corruption, stay safe from COVID-19. Report any act of corruption to ICPC on toll-free number 0800-2255-4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
Welcome to Ibadan. Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak has inaugurated the Kwara State Community Police Advisory Committee in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. The strategy is part of Inspector General of Police initiative to involve people at the grassroots in crime prevention and control. Kendi Omot reports.
The committee is to be co-chaired by the State Police Commissioner of Police and the chairman of the State Traditional Council. Representatives from other security agencies, CAN, the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, to the grassroots. They are expected to drive community policing and help in maintaining peace, law and order in their various domains.
With your cooperation and partnership, security is assured, while the ideals of community policing are implemented to the letter.
Let us all be committed to the goal of the committee. Kwara State government is aware of the critical role of security in driving the much desired growth and economic development. Hence, the governor's commitment to supporting any initiative aimed at strengthening the existing security architecture in the state.
This advisory committee will serve as another platform to engage local communities on matters of security. Members of this committee are hereby assured of our cooperation and support to make the takeover of community policing a huge success in Kwara State.
A state community policing committee with an expanded membership across the labor unions, CSOs, and people living with disabilities was also inaugurated. Kehinde Omolosho, NTA News.
Academic activities are still suspended in tertiary institutions as part of measures to prevent spread of dreaded COVID-19. Correspondent Shola Wahid visited some higher institutions in Ibadan for situation reports.
The outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic worldwide disrupted socio-economic activities of every nation, with the education sector also badly affected. Recently, schools resumed for pupils and students in exit classes, with students in senior secondary 3 presently writing their final WAEC examination too. However, students in tertiary institutions are hoping to go back to school soon, while business owners are groaning under the closure of schools.
Affected my year of graduation because left to me, I'm expecting to graduate early next year, but now I can't really say the exact time I'll be graduating.
The lockdown has given me more time to work on my other course, which is CEH. So I've been certified ethical hacking.
The business, it's really affected our business. There's no sales, everything's just looking dull.
Meanwhile, management of the Polytechnic Ibadan has directed some categories of workers to resume work in preparation for school.
Therefore, management has met and it has gotten approval from the Chairman Council to ensure that we start preparing.
With the gradual ease in the lockdown nationwide, it is hoped that normal school activities may resume soon. In Ibadan, Shola Wahid, NTA News.
You're still watching Nationwide on the NTA. More reports with Lydia in Abuja.
Thanks. The management of the NTA has noted with concern the inaccurate and fallacious story being circulated by some online media outfits and some newspapers to the effect that it has been ordered by the Senate Committee on Finance to step aside. This claim is wholly untrue and thrives only in the realm of malice and mischief. For the avoidance of any doubts, NTA as a corporate body and public broadcaster is not under the radar of the Senate through its Committee on Finance. What is being looked at is the NTA Star Times joint venture, a limited liability cable television company formed in 2009 and jointly owned by both the NTA and Star Times. The company has its own management, which is independent of and entirely different from the management of the NTA, and this management has appeared before the Committee on Invitation and presented documents as requested. The management of the NTA, headed by the Director General, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, is intact, has not been asked to step aside, and is performing its day-to-day activities without any hindrance. Today is Ranar Hausa, that is World Hausa Day. It came into being in the year 2015 to enable Hausa speakers bring to the fore challenges facing the language in the 21st century, to remind speakers of the language, its importance, and how to move it forward. The day also seeks to emphasize the need for research and studies on how to improve the language towards uniting the Hausa community all over the globe. Joining me from our Kano studio is Professor Hafiz Miko Yakasai, a professor of linguistics at the University of Kano, Kano State. You're welcome to Nationwide.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Now, can you give us more insight into this day?
Yes, actually, this is Hausa International Day, which is being celebrated worldwide, particularly in the countries where there are speakers of Hausa. And I will say that particularly in Nigeria, the essence for these celebrations is to re-understand the importance of the language in terms of human existence, and particularly in issues relating to teaching and learning, how to think and how to think of development in any direction. This International Day is telling us the importance of teaching our children our own native tongue, and indeed is telling us that we should allow our children to speak the language so that they can make their positive contributions in the nation's development. Particularly when you look at it, Hausa has been ranked at the 11th positions by the United Nations. This has indicated that Hausa is one of the major languages in the world, not only in Nigeria, and not only in Africa, but in the whole world. If you look at it in the African perspectives, Hausa is the major language when you talk of a number of speakers, but then followed by Swahili. But when you talk of a number of countries, then we see Swahili is the first, then Hausa is the second. This, we are celebrating this day to talk in the language, to encourage our children, our people to talk in the language, to give our short stories in the language, and indeed to tell our leaders that Hausa, there is need for Hausa, particularly when you look at it. The theme of this year's anniversary is the possibility of adopting Hausa, the use of Hausa at African Unity, AU.
Here now, how do you think some of the challenges confronting the Hausa language can be addressed? Okay, if you can hear me clearly, I said, how do you think some of the challenges confronting the Hausa language can be addressed?
Yes, I think one way that we could address that is one, by speaking the language. Native speakers and other speakers must always be using the language so that our children will also learn the language. That is one. Two, there is need for government to show the relevance of Hausa and other major languages of the country. And third, there is need to have books translated or written in our own native tongue, particularly Hausa. Now that in the Bayero University, Kano, a number of science and technology textbooks, right from the primary one down to the junior secondary school levels, all the books have now been written in the Hausa, including chemistry and physics. So in this direction, we are making our children, if we could do this, it means we are making our children to understand in our own language, to memorize in our own language, and to think in our own culture, in our own language. This thinking will make them to give up their positive contributions towards sustaining the national development.
Professor Hafiz Miko Yakasai, we thank you for sharing your thoughts on Nationwide. We've been talking to Professor Yakasai, a professor of linguistics at the University of Kano. Mungode. Now, let's go to stories concerning COVID-19. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has confirmed 252 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. The cases are from 17 states and the FCT. A breakdown of the figures indicates that Plateau has 50, Enugu 35, Rivers 27, Lagos 26, FCT 18, and Kaduna 18 each. Ekiti and Kano 10 each, and Taraba 9. Others are Anambra, Edo, and Oyo, recording 8 cases each. Delta 7, Ogun 6, Abia and Bayelsa 5 each. Ebonyi and Osun 1 each. This brings the total number of confirmed cases to 52,800. 39,964 have been discharged, with 1,007 deaths recorded. No researchers or herbal medicine practitioners have been given approval for the management of COVID-19 in Nigeria. The National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, which made this clarification, however, confirmed that it is working with Lagos State government on clinical trials. Haman Jabani reports.
Over 40 applications from researchers and herbal medicine practitioners submitted to the National Agency for Food and Drugs Administrations and Control, NAFDAC, for the management of COVID-19 and the clinical trials ongoing with the Lagos State government Nigeria may soon witness success in that effort to find cure for COVID-19. NAFDAC, as a regulatory agency, is working towards ensuring that any herbal medicine that is in the market has been certified, and all applications concerning the management of COVID-19 must go through the approved certification processes.
Herbal medicine companies or researchers are going through clinical trial process. We are reviewing the applications as we speak. And the CBN scheme that is out there now, the closing date is October 30. Many academicians will submit proposals to do more research into COVID-19 related potential products.
In the last 2.5 years, NAFDAC said it has settled its over 3 billion naira debt, have better functional labs across the country, created additional 10 directorates, improved staff welfare, reduced the number of days for registration of products, among other achievements. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
More on COVID-19. Women are often seen as mothers, nurturers, and trustworthy in providing support to men, children, and many times to fellow women. The outbreak of COVID-19 further demonstrates and highlights women's role in crisis management. In this special report, Linda Okorie-Igwe reports on the contributions of women to mitigate the pandemic.
Since the outbreak of COVID-19, women are said to be in the front line of the fight against the pandemic as caregivers. From managing homes to providing succor in terms of palliatives to cushion the impact of the COVID-19, their role is immeasurable. Maria Matu Onda, a mother of 6 children, strives daily to support her husband, cater for the family amidst the pandemic.
This is where I used to do my business to help my children for school, for feeding, because my husband is retired civil defense almost 8 years ago. So this is why I used to help him. It's not easy, but there is nothing you can do.
There are other women who rose to the challenge of the pandemic to lend a helping hand through distribution of palliatives, public awareness, and advocacies on how to stay safe.
The First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Mrs. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, has been doing a lot during this COVID pandemic. She has lent her hand to the less privileged in terms of palliatives all over the country. And on my own part, I have done a little bit in my state, where I come from, Nasarawa State. We've given the less privileged the little that we have, and I think it went a long way in really helping them out.
While governments at all levels say they remain committed to flatten the curve of coronavirus with the complementary role of women, Nigeria is expected to win the battle against the pandemic soon.
NGOs and civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, we supported every move by government to make sure that there was awareness, there was sensitization on COVID-19, enlightening the people on the need, to avoid contacting this deadly disease. And honestly, the awareness paid off, in reducing the spread of COVID-19.
Acknowledged by the contributions of women in mitigating the impact of coronavirus, stakeholders say such gestures demonstrate capacity of women in leadership as they seek for more representation of women in positions. Linda Okorie-Igwe, NTA News.
For more reports on Nationwide, let's join Deepa Bari in Port Harcourt.
Welcome to Port Harcourt. The World Health Organization certification of Nigeria as polio-free is a wake-up call to relevant stakeholders that great results are feasible towards addressing public health concern. Medical experts and key stakeholders in the End Polio campaign said these on the heels of the latest feat by the present administration. Kingsley Amajiri reports.
Onyinye Amadi and Believe Amesi are among millions of those who are currently living with disabilities arising from the consequences of polio.
Those in the villages, those in rural areas, they find it difficult. So this thing affected us very, very well.
The news of a polio-free Nigerian society after 3 consecutive years gives hope to millions of young children who will no longer go through the experience of those currently living with this health challenge. Experts, however, want sustained surveillance and continuous immunization to retain this current certification status.
Prompt medical attention as when due, very important. It's a measure to keep up this. And information from caregiver will also reduce this stigmatization.
Keen observers called on public-spirited organizations and government to equally channel similar efforts at addressing other public health concerns affecting the country. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
River State Governor Nyesom Wike has decried the delay in the appointment of a substantive Vice-Chancellor at the University of Port Harcourt. The governor was speaking when the management team of the University of Port Harcourt, led by its acting Vice-Chancellor, Professor Stephen Okodudu, paid him a courtesy visit at Government House, Port Harcourt. Ogedi Ekuri has details.
Governor Wike regretted that the position of Vice-Chancellor in the university is no longer based on competence and capacity to deliver. He appealed to the acting Vice-Chancellor to reposition the institution to what it used to be, assuring of his administration's support to achieve desired goal.
I found out that where we did our own convocation is still where they normally hold their convocation. So I felt that would not be fitting enough for the university. The contract has been awarded. I know that soon funds will be released.
Acting Vice-Chancellor, University of Port Harcourt, Professor Stephen Okodudu, said that the visit was to intimate the governor of the new management of the university following the expiration of the tenure of the immediate past Vice-Chancellor, Professor Ndowa Lale. He said his appointment, which is for a period of 6 months, is to restore peace in the university, as mandated by Mr. President.
The circumstances that led to my appointment as acting Vice-Chancellor necessitated the mandate given to me by the federal government to restore peace to the University of Port Harcourt.
Governor Wike has also reconciled major actors in the July 9, 2013 River State House of Assembly crisis, where the members agreed to work together as one big family under the PDP.
My sincere apologies to my brothers, my colleague, Michael Chinda, Kelechi Wogu, and Evans, maybe all others. God has kept all of us alive. I have forgiven Chidulon.
In Port Harcourt, Ogedi Nyekwere, NTA News.
We are done from Port Harcourt. Nationwide will continue right after the break. Good evening.
She cries. She cries in anguish and in pain. She bears the scourge of her grief. She toils in vain for justice and succumbs to silence. He gloats over his malady. Like a beast, he pounces with no remorse. Her cry means nothing. Her pain feeds her shame. Like an orphan, she's left to grieve in solitude. But no more will she cry in vain. Her adversaries will henceforth bear the brunt of their cruelty. Rape is evil. Rape is a plague, a pandemic of monumental consequences. We must unite and kick it out of our society.
Connect with NTA and stand against rape and rapists. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online, or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go Be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. It is with gratitude to Almighty Allah for a life well spent. The family of Alhaji Abdul Aziz of Okene Kogi State, but based in Lagos, announces the passing on to glory of their wife, late Alhaja Sahadat Aliu, who passed on Sunday, 23rd of August 2020. We also express family appreciation to all ulama, family members and friends associations who condoled and participated in the janat that took place by 4 p.m. today at Ikoyi Cemetery, Lagos. The 8th-day Fridal prayer for late Alhaja Sadat Aliu will come up on Wednesday, 2nd of September 2020 at the family house in Lekki, Lagos. We pray that Almighty Allah grant her Aljana Firdaus and may her soul continue to rest in peace. Allahumma Ameen. Announcer, the husband of the deceased wife, Alhaji Abdul Aziz of Okene Kogi State.
Thanks for staying with the NTA. And now to judiciary matters as we join Sadia in Sokoto.
Two repentant insurgents captured and rehabilitated by the Nigerian armed forces in the northern region have reunited with their families in Kebbi State. Governor Bakar Atiku Bagudu, who received them, called on others involved in such acts to repent and be part of the society where they can live peacefully and pursue legitimate means of livelihood. Osman Abdullahi Shehu reports.
Receiving the two rehabilitated returnees, Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu expressed appreciation to the security agencies in the country and all stakeholders in their relentless effort to ensure peace and stability in the northeast region of Nigeria. Governor Bagudu, who was represented by the Secretary to Kebbi State Government Alhaji Babale Umar Yaudi, said government will provide them with financial and moral support to integrate fully and become productive members of the society.
Is always willing to assist not only people who are involved in Northeast, but any other person who decides to renounce evil.
The Special Advisor on Security Matters, Garba Rabiu Kamba, commended the Nigerian Armed Forces framework of Operation Safe Corridor in the Northeast, whose aim is to de-radicalize, rehabilitate and integrate all repentant insurgents in the region, adding that the returnees have undergone 24 weeks training at the rehabilitation camp in Malam Sidi in Gombe State.
The camp has already done its own part of this training. The third stage on which we are is the actual reintegration.
The representative of the Emir of Gwandu, Ian Gwandu, Alhaji Abdullahi Ibrahim, and the Commissioner of Police, Kebbi State Command, Agumbiade Oluemi, urged the two returnees to remain law-abiding and be productive members of the society. Thereafter, they were handed over to the district heads of two areas they hail from for onward integration with their families. In Birnin Kebbi, Usman Abdullahi Shehu, NTA News.
Now, absence of federal high court judge in Sokoto State is hampering prosecution of perpetrators of gender-based violence for the past 7 months. This came to the fore at an interactive session between wife of Sokoto State Governor Maria Aminu Waziri Tambuwal and members of her forum on gender-based violence. Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila completes the report.
On the 9th of January 2020, the wife of Sokoto State Governor Maria Aminu Waziri Tambuwal inaugurated a gender-based violence forum to fight the menace. The forum had in the last 7 months received reports on 30 gender-based violence cases from across the state. The cases are mostly rape, sodomy, and domestic violence. Members of the forum on a visit to the governor's wife briefed her on the achievements and challenges, stressing the need for more awareness to stem the increase in gender-based violence in the society. The forum also called for domestication of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act passed by the National Assembly.
There's no judge at the Federal High Court right now, so it's among the thing that is crippling our own activities. You will see that the NAPTIP, they will arrest the suspect, investigate the matter, but in the process of prosecuting, they find it very difficult because there's no Federal High Court judge. So,
as we are aware, one of the trending and pervasive social issues we face these days is gender-based violence.
Maria Tambuwal Development Initiative is also working with other development partners to improve the lives of women and children, especially survivors of gender-based violence. In Sokoto, Abraham Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
That's it from here. It's now back to Lydia in Abuja.
Many thanks. And from Zamfara, measures to reposition the Zamfara state health sector for effective service delivery. Governor Bello Mohammed Matawale of Zamfara is vigorously pursuing a joint transformation agenda with the National Health Insurance Scheme. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that resolutions at a meeting between the governor and the management of NHIS are promising.
State quest to provide quality and affordable health care services to all, the governor says, propelled the renewed vigor to partner the National Health Insurance Scheme.
The agency has also developed enrollment program for both the formal and informal sectors. I'm confident that we are fully qualified to access basic healthcare provision funds. I accord top priority to the agencies in fulfillment of my campaign promises of providing free and quality healthcare to women and children in the state.
Executive Secretary, National Health Insurance Scheme, Professor Mohammed Sambo reveals that the scheme is working within available resources to achieve a comprehensive health scheme across the country.
I'm going to strengthen the office in the state, which will in turn provide the necessary support to the State Health Insurance Agency. And at the level of our headquarters, we will be unrelenting in ensuring that whatever we do in the process of support to the state, the Zamfara state will be top in the agenda.
Governor Bello, speaking on other matters, notes that security challenges posed by banditry and other negative tendencies have been considerably managed for sustainable growth and development. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
CAF okays resumption of games in October. Details and more with Tamara Ebiwe on Sports Update.